Chair. Thank you, General. I'm not going to ask unnecessary questions. General, I want to go straight to the incident regarding the escort of Mr. Adams during his visit to the Westville Correctional Facility. I want to understand from you, first of all, just briefly, what are the prescribed protocols for providing escort or support to members of Parliament, particularly in relation to visits to correctional facilities?
The movement of the members of Parliament can be assisted in providing escort if they're on duty. They're exercising their parliamentary oversight and they feel that they're not safe in going to a certain place. So that is provided. But obviously, they must ask from the police management or, well, the local police to assist them with that. But if the members of Parliament are doing that on their private capacity, then it's a no.
So I want to understand, let's maybe ask that first. So did Mr. Adams travel in his private capacity?
Well, from the investigation, it appears that he was on his private capacity. However, he will have indicated that he's on official capacity when he signed into the registers of correctional services. He did not say he was there in private capacity.
So is there any indication from what you know who mandated him from Parliament? It was certainly not the Police Portfolio Committee. So is there any indication?
We don't know exactly, Honourable Member. What the team picked up is one of the grey areas that allow such things to happen are these flights privileges that are afforded to the members of Parliament, which sometimes they use it for official business and sometimes they use it for private business, but being paid for by Parliament. So we suspect he might have used one of those flights, maybe, or someone else paid for his flight. I do not know, or he paid for himself. But he traveled to KZN. But what we know is that in his arrival, he made use of the state resources that he's not entitled to. And when he arrived at correctional services, he presented himself as a member of Parliament on duty so that he can get a privilege of an MP when he arrives there. And yet he was busy with his own private thing.
This is very interesting. I would love to, as the investigation goes on, understand who mandated him. Again, I can confirm it's not the Police Portfolio Committee. General, would the access or the way that he received escorts or was provided, would it require formal written authorization or coordination with correctional services, the way that he was, not correctional services, apologies, with the police, the way that he was escorted?
Yeah, no, definitely it needs authorization. A request that must be formally submitted and be authorized. The SAPS members were used. The Metro Police officers were used in this operation or that visit that he made. And earlier, Honourable Member read out a statement or a case that has been registered by one of the police officers that was involved. The one that I said is a cousin, if I'm not mistaken, of Mr. Robert McBride. The movement from the word-go of Cape Town until he lands into correctional services, surely it was organized. He had communicated with someone to facilitate those movements. Obviously, did not declare that, we like to believe. Now that we know, the head of Metro Police did not know about it. Hence, when I asked about it, he checked out with the team, and the team confirmed they were requested. The member that requested were junior members that got involved in facilitating that movement. None of the seniors were involved. He's an honourable member from the Portfolio Committee on Police, so he did not bother calling me. And I'd like to know, I believe he did not call me because part of the trip was against me in his own eyes. And he did not think of talking to any senior member, at least in KZN. There are many senior members, even if he doesn't talk to me. I don't think he engaged with any senior member. But he engaged with one that, coincidentally, is a relative of Robert McBride. So it brings the question about the role that Robert McBride has in the behavior of Mr. Adams. Yes, we know they're close to each other. We see them on photos.
Maybe it's a rhetorical question or one we may not need an answer, but do you really think it is coincidental? Would we not have any indication that Mr. McBride played a role in assisting to coordinate or help arrange such an escort?
Oh, well, there's a big possibility for that. The member who coordinated this and the case that he subsequently now is going to open, that case is currently circulating at Patricia Mashale's group, the WhatsApp group. They are talking about that matter. So when you start having the Mashales talking about these things that are happening, then it tells you that it's part of the syndicate that is operating.
I was about to call it the Patricia de Haas group. General, if we move to General Khan, I'm trying to prioritize it because I'm scared the chair. Well, I see the chair's left already. But just in terms of General Khan, Minister Mkhwanazi told me just after he had become the minister, he said to me that General Khan was one of the first people to congratulate him on his appointment as the Minister of Police, even before it was announced. So he allegedly had a meeting with the president, and when he walked out, General Khan was waiting outside and he congratulated him already. We don't need to confirm whether that is the case or not. That is what Minister Mkhwanazi told me. What I would like to know is would this indicate that I mean, how far does General Khan's reach go? Because for him for an allegation to be made that he would know something like this, it obviously is very concerning.
That is what Minister Mkhwanazi told you.
Yeah.
what General Kumalo told me is that General Khan and the suspended Inspector General of Intelligence had gone to see the acting Minister of Police before he was even appointed as a minister, and gave him documents that talks about crime intelligence and so forth against Kumalo and the team. So this is an indication of the influence and access that General Khan has in politicians. So he bragged about it when he told me. To what extent, I did not know. But as you receive information, then you get to realize that this man, he is indeed connected to many politicians. I said the lead of EFF, for the first time for me to sit with him, is because it's Khan that took me to go and meet with him. Well, obviously, he had his concerns about the rallies and everything they were going to have there, which he would have met me anyway via Khan. But for whatever reason, Khan arranged that meeting so that we could meet and talk about the concern that they were having as a party. But that was an indication, according to what I observed, that the man is very close to politicians. So as we see these and we hear what is happening, it's obvious that he is connected. I mean, we see him attending political parties, and the claim is on duty, undercover.
I know at some stage you mentioned the leader of the EFF, but I know at one stage there were allegations that General Khan approved some sort of security privilege to the leader of the EFF. Do you know if there's any truth to that? I just have it as an allegation at that stage. It was quite some time ago.
No, I don't know that. I was not informed about such, so I don't know.
General, for just purpose of the record, the Honourable James touched on it earlier. Do you believe General Sibiya acted as a conduit for protecting General Khan within the organisation?
Yeah, well, I don't have much of the evidence about the protection against Khan per se. I did get information from General Kumalo that at one stage Sibiya wanted Khan to be charged about cases. But the one that Khan was facing, I don't think Sibiya had blocked it in any way, because it came from IP to the National Commission. I'd like to believe it would have passed Sibiya until it landed in Kumalo. So that case was held. So I don't know about any other cases beyond that, if there's anything that's Sibiya the role to play, but I don't know.
Is there any indication, and this leads to the question about that specific political leader as well, but is there any indication that General Khan has a relationship with Adriano Mazzotti?
Yeah, well, except being with him at the political party rally, which was physical that one could see. But other than that, I don't have any evidence to prove. Yes, there was a gentleman that is within Mazzotti, I don't know if it was his manager or something like that, who once called me complaining about the issues involving Khan and the ex-wife. The wife was the relationship issues, which I find strange. Why the man phones me about it? What must I do about it? So I discovered, and I approached Khan and said, what's going on with this man? And he said, oh, well, it's an issue about that man's ex-wife, that he was having issues with Khan, and is in that business of Mazzotti that I'm told. But to what extent is involved there, I don't know. But I know he's got a relationship with them.
So we touched on it earlier, the relationship between General Sibiya and Mr. Ismail. What is that relation? Is there a relationship between General Khan and Mr. Ismail?
Well, from the investigation that has been conducted, I've not been presented with anything specific that shows that relationship. However, Mr. Ismail is involved in investigation of kidnapping cases. General Khan is leading a team in the police that is involved in criminal cases within crime intelligence. So I like to believe they've been exchanging notes in between throughout the time when they were dealing with cases. So from that, I would like to believe perhaps they know each other, but I don't have any evidence to prove that they know each other.
We've touched on the payments. I know Honourable James touched on it earlier, and the allegations around Mr. Nangi and Mr. Ismail. But with regards to General Khan, the kidnapping issue, Mr. Ismail and General Sibiya, does General Khan have access to a grabber?
Yeah, well, that's some of the things that that keeps them at crime intelligence, and that's many of the things that keeps him within the investigation part of the police. And I think his post is maybe within that space. But I know now General Kumalo arrived and he has moved that away from him. I think General Matonda supervising that could be part of the reason why Matonda is in the firing line.
Okay.
Because it's a very strategic tool that I think at the time Khan had access to.
Well, this is the reason why I'm asking, because isn't it true that General Khan also has some kind of influence on cross-border operations or intelligence, or had at some stage played some kind of a role in that?
Well, there's still an operation Khan that got involved with that happened across the border, which was not authorized.
You see, so my reason for asking that is that now we've got an alleged rogue border cop, the one that was here that had the so-called press briefing outside with Mr. Adams. We've got General Khan that did an unauthorized operation cross-border as well. We've got a funeral parlor that seems to not necessarily just be transporting the deceased. And then we've got cigarette smugglers in the mix as well, whether it's links to political parties or some. So it's just, for the record, I think in the absence of the chair, maybe to the evidence leader and the team, something for the record for the report. It is something that could and should potentially be followed up. My last question on General Khan, wouldn't you say, when it comes to what I've just said about border control, you've mentioned it earlier as well, doesn't this pose a significant threat to already weak border control?
Yeah, no, definitely. The people that knows about weaknesses in the system usually are police officers. That's why those have access to the strategic areas that are risk to the country, they need to be monitored very strong. So there must always be this counterintelligence against them to monitor their behavior, because they can easily be corrupted.
Okay. General, I want to move to just, I think, more general comments. After today, we've seen positive comments regarding Parliament role. We've seen some scrutiny as well regarding Parliament role, and I think part of the reporting of this committee would include that. What I want to share and then ask for your advice is a few things. Today, I spent some time listing things that we've really tried to address. Individuals like General Fani, when he appeared last year, there's no doubt that there is, whether criminal or poor discipline, there are significant discrepancies in the whole story surrounding General Fani. He's still in his position. All the noise around General Khan, same thing. Yesterday, I mentioned to the National Commissioner, General Patrick Mboto. I mean, both the National Commissioner knew before Mboto was moved to the Hawks. General Labia really defended him. The Philippi Training Academy, something the Portfolio Committee has touched on. Taxi operators in the police. Use an example with a lack of action from the Minister of Police. Both the acting minister as well as the former Minister Mpunu is the CIRA CEO and CFO. And mind you, just for the record, I think Honorable James touched on it, but just to tell you for the record of the committee that we checked today, Mr. Ismail himself is not registered with CIRA, and there's no business registered with CIRA. So he's operating illegally with the police. Or was. We touched on the UIF corruption within CIRA, where the CEO and CFO of CIRA are aware. We keep pushing for these things. We keep calling people to Parliament. The last round with the Auditor General, we actually asked everyone to leave because the National Commissioner and the Minister weren't there. What's next? How do we get them to actually take action? There's no individual part of this committee that wouldn't agree with me that we want to see a lot of them fired, and we want to see a lot of them behind bars. Maybe you can advise us, because I think my closing comment before you answer that, in the last 2 weeks, we made quite a few people in this group, in the Portfolio Committee and the Joint Standing Committee on Defence, made really positive input on how the deployment of the SANDF could really have a positive impact if approached in the right way. A lot of red flags were raised and proposals on joint training. And respectfully, General, both the police, the SANDF, and unfortunately the presidency ignored it. So at that point, I must ask, what's the use of constantly recommending it? What would you propose?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because the executive operates separately from Parliament. So how do you hold the executive accountable within the legislation? You might need to find that in as far as maybe the presidency is concerned. But the officials that are employed, and I'm talking about the head of departments, like in this case, the National Commission, not the executive, you then might find a ways to make sure that which is regarded as a performance agreement, that contract that the National Commission or the head of the department has with the president, you have insight of the contract, and perhaps you might also have input into such a contract, so that you are able to do the monitoring. Because I don't think the presidency, as a boss of these heads of department, is able to lead into the a period where you could then make these recommendations in your assessment that is going to influence the performance assessment to the president who employs this person to say, this person might not be fit for the job anymore. And you make a recommendation. Once we all as head of departments know the power of the portfolio committee that might terminate our contract, we will start respecting them. When you call us, we're going to come. When you ask us questions, we're going to be transparent in accounting. But if you are just calling us as you're doing now, and you scream and you scream and you scream, and we go back, but we have no impact on our employment contracts, it doesn't necessarily have much. So find a way as committees of Parliament to hold the head of these departments accountable for the work they do. Because when you do oversight, it is them that must execute. But on parallel to that, as committees, what is your role and authority that you have over the appointed cabinet member to that department? If we don't have, that's why I was saying that how do you, as Parliament, hold a cabinet member responsible? Because they're part of the executive authority and they are a different arm of government with you. I don't know how you navigate that to hold them accountable, because you're almost seen as equals. We've seen ministers here who ignores the portfolio committee. We've seen it. We are citizens. We watch it. And that makes us realize it means the committees really don't have powers over them. But what about the head of departments? It might be the similar thing. The head of department that says, you can't do anything to me anyway. So they just ignore you. But there are citizens out there that brings you in Parliament that they want service, and the service is not rendered. So you might want to reconfigure yourself how you then play this role. For us, I'll pray that I shouldn't be invited before yourself, your committee, and then be held to account on things, because I might be found wanting. So if I'm found wanting and I'm not able to fix things, I might lose my job. So there must always be that fear amongst us, so that we are kept on our toes to do what we're supposed to do. But until that is done, things will always continue the way they are.
Thank you, General. I think one made that the committee said previously, specifically regarding the private security regulator, was that we would actually not welcome the CEO and the CFO of CIRO again until we see some kind of action. That we need to force a deadlock because there's just no action from the minister's office. General, I want to close. I've got one or two short questions. The first one is, the president has now indicated that he was not briefed, as Minister Mkhwanazi indicated before or consulted before the closing of or disbanding of the PKTT, or the instruction thereof. Do you think he should be removed immediately as the minister? When do we get to a point where we actually resolve it now? Because it's been months on end where we're paying two ministers to do the same job.
Yeah, well, I'm an official. For me to start talking about decision that the president must take might not be fair. However, having seen what we have seen and having read and listened to what has been presented before these two structures, it's clear that Minister Mkhwanazi is no longer fit to run this department of police. Okay. I don't know about other departments.
Fair enough. Fair enough. General, I'm going to close there, even though the chair is not here. I don't want to labor